Because if you keep learning and not executing, you're not going to learn, you're not going to use what you learn. Don't look at what people that are not in the industry say. The only thing that most people are afraid of doing is cold calling.
Hey everyone, really excited to speak to Azeez this week, who recently broke into tech sales at Codility. Azeez, very excited. Obviously, we work together on a lot of our live calls. I saw you rapidly progress into tech sales. Maybe before we get into the ins and outs of that, just setting the stage for everyone watching of where you were before breaking into tech sales, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, appreciate you guys having me here and, making the time to discuss this and provide some value to the viewers. So before breaking into tech sales, and I am still currently at my current company, which is basically a civil engineering company. And what we do is we design roads, highways. I'm personally not an engineer myself, but I work with engineers. We do the exact type of work, except when you grow like later, when in your senior years, you start going like in different directions. But yeah, that's where I am.
Nice. And obviously can relate to that, former engineer. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on why you wanted to leave engineering, but maybe a little bit more brief. Talk about, I'd love you to share your experience of when you maybe realize that that's not the long-term career path for you and you start to look at tech sales. Had you done anything before looking at training like yourself when it comes to applying or putting your resume out there? I'm just curious kind of your transition away from engineering.
Yeah, for sure. So I knew that engineering wasn't for me within like the first 2 to 3 months. I was like, this is not the industry I want to be in. But I was like, you know what? I want to give it some time. Maybe this is like just challenges and I'm just being a little kid. And, the moment I face challenges, I want to, quit. So I was like, you know what? Let me stick around. And I did. And, in my time, I learned a lot. I learned too many different things. Most of the things I learned is really on like focused on hard skills, not really soft skills. But there are some like soft skills in terms of like communication with clients, communication with other departments in your company. But in terms of like the main focus on which skill, we're mostly on the hard skill, which is technical skills.
When you start to realize that engineering is not for you, what kind of steps did you take before, joining higher levels, if any, in terms of applying to certain companies or, networking? I'm just curious if you did anything before looking for formal training.
I actually didn't do anything before any formal training. I'm a big believer in investing in yourself, and I just think it's the way to go to whatever you want to go, really. So instead of looking into how I guess like I can get into tech sales on my own, I was looking for courses to invest in, just to not necessarily shortcut, but to actually build a proper foundation to get you to where you want to go. So I honestly just started looking on YouTube, and I saw multiple different YouTube videos, not necessarily higher levels. That's not the first thing I saw, but a lot of the things I saw personally, I thought about them as red flags. And I have my own reason for that. My perspective to it is different, I guess, from other people. But the programs and the courses that I saw, to me, were red flags. So I kind of like stayed away from them, and I kept on searching until I found Eric talking about how to build a resume on for LinkedIn, etc. And that's when I was like, okay, let me listen to this guy a bit. And I actually like commented on few of your videos just to get some information, and you did reply, so that was like very, very helpful. Yeah, and also you come from an engineering background, so that kind of like resonated with me.
Nice. I love it. I guess probing a little bit deeper into that too, like what were some of those red flags that you felt like weren't apparent with higher level specifically? Like, was there anything, obviously you mentioned the resume video specifically, but what was it about us that made you say, hey, this looks different than everything else in the market? And obviously I'll probe into like what your actual experience was like, but going into this, what was it specifically that made you say, hey, this is what I want to commit to?
So to answer your first question, I guess the red flags were marketing. And a lot of people were talking about a course, uh, course careers. I think everybody knows about course careers. And hey, like I'm not saying it's a bad program. I'm not like shitting on it. Excuse my language here. But the marketing aspect of things just made it a red flag for me because it seemed it's more of like people want to get a bonus, I guess, rather than actually market it for the value it offers. I might be wrong, but that's the I guess impression that it gave me. That was my perspective to it. So I knew from the beginning that this is definitely not for me. Second, what you guys, I guess that was a deal breaker or a no brainer for me was the mentorship for sure. The mentorship was like a big aspect, even if you don't need it much, but when you need it, it's actually there. Like for me, Ryan gave me a lot of tips, right? In terms of resume that helped me at least get my first interview. And when I say that, like for example, when he gave me like that, like put like an SDR keyword, or like an SDR word in your resume, because like the system looks for that keyword, and he taught me other like keywords as well. So that was helpful when I joined Eric's. I don't think Chris I've met you before or spoke to you. I've spoke to Eric. So when you ask like those like little questions that just like move you to the right direction, and you just need that step, and the rest you're gonna figure it out on your own. Like I attended Eric's like the weekly meeting call a few times because I could have benefited for sure from attending every week, but I only like needed what I was missing, and the rest it's just like an experience. You're just experiencing it on your own, because if you keep learning and not executing, you're not going to learn, you're not going to use what you learn, and you can't apply everything that you learned at once. It's a process, right? Like it's a failure. It's you have to fail. You have to put yourself out there to be able to reiterate, basically, to be able to reiterate your strategy and the way you speak, the way you say your words, and so many aspects to it, right? So yeah, that's it. My end.
Nice, nice. No, 100%. That's exactly how we designed the course as well. Is like we actually have a lot of students who land at some of the best companies in the world, and some of them never even attend the live Q&A calls. They might like jump into the chat. They might send us a DM. Some of them might jump onto like one call. Some people don't even need it at all. But I think having it there for people to just know that there is like a framework for support is what we intended to create. So it's obviously awesome to hear. And we're super happy that you chose higher levels. I mean, you're obviously a killer and you crushed it. I think everybody can probably tell just by like looking at this that you're well spoken. You should be in tech sales. I think that you have a very natural flair for it. To get back on track though, having been through the course, having gone through the program, like what do you think was the most valuable part of it? You mentioned mentorship specifically. Maybe from the content perspective, was there anything that changed the game for you? I know we spoke about this briefly before we jumped on and started recording. Maybe for everybody else like watching this out there, what specifically was it as part of the training program that made you say, hey, this changed everything for me? This was like a game changer?
To be honest, everything. But if I would say one thing, I would say cold calling. It just changed my entire, like it just changed me as a person. You're gonna be like exposed to that rejection from the start. You're gonna be dealing with that like limiting belief, and you either like fall for it or break from it. So that like cold calling aspect, I loved it because it like hit me. It hit me differently. And that's what I would say in terms of like changing, like actually my personality and how I think about things. In terms of like value content, honestly, everything you provided, I used. Everything you provided, I used in terms of like your calling examples, in terms of like your email templates. I used your logics from like your email templates to what's it called? To submit or send. I'm thinking of issue. I'm always like saying we're issue this drawing, but anyways, we to send the assignment to clients, right? Like I used your logic was very helpful. I didn't understand it at the beginning, or I tried to challenge it with my logic. um, but yeah, again, that's part of the process, right? So everything really in the program is valuable, and everything that in the program I used. But the one thing that really changed my life and how I think about stuff now is cold calling for sure.
No, it's awesome. Awesome to see the results. And maybe too, I think this might be a kind of biased question from my own experience, but having gone through it, like when I look back at when I broke in, coming from the engineering world, I tended to overthink a lot of things. And I don't want to put words in your mouth or, kind of say what your experience was, but maybe throughout your interview process, I know you had a couple different interviews, ultimately land at Codility. Is there anything in particular, like a couple nuggets or takeaways that stand out that maybe you were overthinking, or to someone that's just looking at tech sales from the outside looking in, that you would give to someone that's just starting?
Don't look at what people that are not in the industry say. Just don't really listen to anyone. You got a course or you want to do something, just do it. You can't control anything else. You just can't control anything else. You can't control the market. You can't control the country you live in, unless you have the ability to move somewhere else. You just can't control these outside factors other than your own work. So what I would say, put your heads down and just work. A lot of people, including myself, they see the hard work and they see the steps that they need to take, and they want to blame the market over their laziness. That's what I tried to say. That's what I would say. Just put your heads down and just work. Like, you can't control anything else. If you really want it, you're gonna have it, but you just gotta wait. You're gonna put in the work and stuff. I stutter, man. Like, look, I stutter, and I landed a job. Like, it's honestly not an issue.
No, it's great to see. And I know, I think, credit to you for staying very persistent. Like, you took it and didn't do it casually. I could definitely tell you were putting a ton of effort in. And from the time you joined higher levels to when you got the job, what was that rough time frame?
So I joined, I guess, beginning of February, and landed a job end of April. So 2 months, around 2 months. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hats off. Like, you absolutely crushed it, especially coming in with like no prerequisite experience or having done it. A lot of people, they try to do it on their own, but you just like jump straight into it. And I think that's a good thing as well, is like you kind of like you were able to follow a proven framework from the very get-go, which is awesome. A lot of people, a lot of the time, they'll come in with that exact same sort of mindset of like, oh, well, let me change things here a little bit. And I think everybody has their own way of doing things. I'm not saying don't do things at all, like, because again, like, you say things in your way, you write things in your way, right? But I think just having a framework there that you can follow is super, super valuable as well. And you obviously took full leverage of that. I guess, like, looking back at it and just closing out here, like, if you could sort of go back in time, or if you could give yourself, or maybe other folks out there, who are starting this process right now, like, some sort of advice, or regardless of whether they're considering tech sales as a career, regardless of whether they're considering tech sales ascension as a boot camp, what would you sort of tell people out there who are about to embark on this journey?
Just do it, man. Like, just start. If you need more guidance, like, you get, like, honestly, the course is cheap. Like, you guys, like, it's not like the price is nowhere near the value that you guys offer. So, and again, as I said in the beginning, I'm like a big believer in investing in yourself. So honestly, invest in yourself. That's one. If you're, you know, not willing, or it's hard for you at the moment to spend money, I would suggest just like cold call hiring managers. Again, cold calling changed my life, and I truly think that it's the only thing that most people are afraid of doing is cold calling hiring managers. So I would personally go with that. Um, but again, like there's more into that by, because they're going to be like assignments and stuff. So you need to have a framework. You need to understand a framework, and you can do that by trial and error, obviously. But you need to understand that it's going to take you a lot longer um, than a person like me, for example, who invested in themselves.
Nice. I love it. Well, Eric, it sounds like we got to increase the price of the course, man. That's sort of my,
Yeah.
my
Man,
takeaway from that.
the value is insane in the course.
Yeah. You
Well,
heard it here first. Yeah. Everybody can thank Azeez for that one. Yeah.
no, we appreciate it, man. And you were like a beacon of positivity inside the community. It was awesome just seeing your posts. And while we never interacted, that just goes to show how quickly you did this and how quickly you went through the process. Is like we were alternating, and you just happened to get Eric on every single one of the live calls. But I mean, we're super stoked for you. I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to absolutely crush it. So I'm super excited. I mean, you obviously landed a great logo, and we're just stoked to see your journey kind of like start and progress from here. I mean, you're obviously very good at what you do right now, and I think taking that skill set, bringing it into tech sales, you're only gonna be far more successful. So that's pretty much it for me, Eric. I don't know if you have anything else to kind of top things off, but this was awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. Really excited for you, Azeez, and really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Appreciate it.